Okay, so the next thing we're looking at is Mannerism. Mannerism is still considered part of the Renaissance, but it breaks away from this goal of trying to make everything look like the Greeks and the Romans and look so mathematical and perfect and everything. And it's a time when we have a lot of change in the world. If you see the dates here, 1525, 1528, we're having colonization, we're having exploration and discoveries of new things. So the world is rapidly changing. Some things that Mannerist painters are doing is they're using very, very strange colors. They're also purposefully elongating the torsos of the bodies and making them look very strange. So a good example would be this figure here that helps to hold up Jesus. His back is pink, and it really looks like his head is completely disconnected from his body. But probably the most bizarre of the Mannerist painters that I can give you is, or paintings that I can give you, is this one, the allegory of Venus and Cupid. So here we have Venus, and here we have Cupid. So the first thing you should see, and rather disturbing, is that the Cupid figure here is, touching inappropriately the Venus figure. Well, touching inappropriately just because of the age difference, but when you realize that Cupid is the son of Venus, it becomes even more inappropriate. This is an incestuous kind of scene that is being depicted here. We have the head of Cupid here. Once again, looks like it's detached from the body. The body is out of proportion. Her body as well it's like the back is too long. We have this little cherub figure that's going to throw flowers with this kind of demonic face, like, whoa, look at the scene, so lovely. We have this figure here who has happened upon what's happening here. He's looking at it and he's screaming in horror because he realizes what's happening. This guy, he pulls away like this kind of curtain, and also his eyes are like bugging out, like, oh my God, what is going on here? And then we have this weird creature. She's got this kind of beautiful face, but then you realize she has kind of like, what is this, like a griffin body with clawed feet here. Very strange. Okay, and there are other things in here, all very symbolic, that if you want to look up this painting, you can. Now we'll move to France. And France, because of exploration, colonization, they were becoming really wealthy. So the French king, he hired some of the Italian artists to come to France and redo this hunting cabin that he had, and it becomes known as Fontainebleau. Fontainebleau. It's a famous building because years after it was redone, it was used for many things, writing and artist retreats and stuff. But when he has it redone from this simple hunting cabin into the chateau, he's doing it really because he wants to party. And he had amassed this great amount of wealth. And he more or less kept his mistresses here, and he had these very over-the-top lavish parties. What is important about this building, though, is that when he has the artwork done in it, he's hiring artists from Italy to come to France to paint it. So they bring the Italian style, the Italian traditions that are happening in Italy to France at the time period. Here's a depiction of the king, Francis I, and you can see here we have this really lavish kind of dress, over-the-top kind of dress, and very expensive material and gold and jewels and everything that the king is wearing, showing his wealth. And again, in the background, we don't have anything really but a piece of cloth, although it does have the royal crest in it, so another reference to the great wealth that the king is amassing. The next is the German artists. So the German artists are usually always focusing in on suffering. It just seems to be part of their society. So the same holds true with what we see in Germany at this time period. So This is by the artist Grunwald, Matthias Grunwald, and it's known as the Isenheim altar. And this is a closed. So here we have some biblical scenes that are taking place, and then here we have these demon creatures, like maybe this battle for the end of time, the apocalypse, or something like that. And then this is what it looked like when it was opening. And so here we have Sebastian, Saint Sebastian, who was martyred by being shot with arrows. And then we have Jesus here, and it's a little hard to see, but he's got all these wounds all over his body. This was made to go in a hospital for people that had skin ailments. So like leprosy, which they had no cure for or treatment really at the time. So if you had something like leprosy, you would be put in this hospital to die. It was going to be how you were going to die. So, and this is a ailment, a virus that causes the skin to rot, and literally like parts of your body fall off of you and stuff, and you live with it for a while. It's highly contagious. So they would take people that had this and put them in special hospitals or other locations, so they were quarantined from the rest of society. And so Jesus here, his hands are upturned. You can see this great amount of pain he is in with his facial expressions and his hands and the way his feet are twisted, and all of the marks all over his body. And this was to give comfort to the people that were in the hospital. So for example, the idea once again that Jesus is suffering so you can go to heaven, and Jesus really suffered, and you too are suffering, but your afterlife will be much better than your life here on earth. This brings us to the famous artist Albrecht Dürer, and he's a German artist, but he goes to Italy and he studies in Italy, and then he returns to Germany, and he really brings back this tradition of Italian painting, and he was an amazing painter. And here we have his self-portrait from 1500, oil on wood panel. And if you notice, he has two areas of his self-portrait really highlighted. First I'm going to say, the way he has his hair and everything, he looks like Jesus. So he's making a reference like he's divine or something like that, chosen one. But then he also has the light on his forehead and on his hand. So he's also making the claim of being the genius artist. That light on his hand is indicating he's such an amazing painter and printmaker, which he was, but also the light on the forehead is indicating that he's the genius, that he is so smart and able to create an image like this. And here's one of his prints. So he actually is more known for his prints than his paintings. And he went and made printmaking and made them into books and traveled around selling these books. And that's kind of how he made his living, more so than commissioned paintings. This is an image of Adam and Eve and an engraving. We've looked at this before, what this is. So the metal plate that he is drawing into. And it is really beautifully done with the gradations from the darks to the mediums to the lights. And another one of his paintings, The Four Apostles, 1526. Notice how the background is just black. So again, we're getting into this idea of light. Everything is kind of about light now, moving forward more and more and more. And to the point that it almost looks like they're on a stage. There's no background whatsoever. They're all kind of standing in this frontal space. There's there's no setting as time or location here. And that brings us to the Reformation and the arts. So I'm going to stop here.